Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I'm not sure how we missed this one, but apparently Jared Kushner is now implicated in the Epstein files. He invited Epstein to party with Trump and Weinstein in 2013. Now, we'll get into this story and many other stories today. The Wizard of Oz Matrix, found a bunch of other stuff on that, with characters from the Wizard of Oz universe that seem to line up with exactly this point in history. One of them is the Gump, and the other is literally named Tik-Tok, same exact spelling as the popular app. So we'll get into that as well. Welcome to the land of Oz, you guys. Let's read this article first. President Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, invited the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein to a 2013 party with his father-in-law and Weinstein. According to the emails released by the House Oversight Committee. Now, I haven't gone through these emails. There's probably so many. I don't know if there's a PDF version available that we could do a word search on, but I'm sure there's many, many more revelations that are going to come out as people are pouring through these emails. But this was 2013. Now, the reason why this is important is because of the time frame long after Epstein was convicted. He had already even served 13-month prison sentence for his child sex crime. So these people knew this, of course, and they still chose to hang out with this person. And this further links Trump to him, of course. Now, understand Jared Kushner, of course, married to Ivanka. Ivanka was sent to a modeling agency at like the age of 12 or 13, I want to say. A known PDF file, John Casablancas. This is where Trump sent his daughter. Even after this guy was making statements about young girls and was openly admitting this, and he had even married a 15-year-old girl or something like this. So all of this was already known. And even after this, John Casablancas was sent by Trump down to his South American real estate empire to run that empire. And that's where he died. So, it isn't just Epstein. It's John Casablancas. It's that whole group of people. And even after they were revealed to be dirty, these people still gave them responsibility, still had them in their lives. This is not good. Let's read this. It says he invited the sex offender to a star-studded 25th anniversary event set to honor New York City's best and brightest. Dear Mr. Stain, Jared Kushner, New York's youngest powerhouse publisher, is celebrating the 25th anniversary of the New York Observer on Thursday, March 14th. Mayor Bloomberg will be by his side to toast you all. Wow. Where was I? The Observer is honoring those who have defined and shaped New York since 1987. Wow. They're celebrating the city's best, brightest, and most influential in culture, media, and finance. The salmon pink pages are revered among New York's elite as a preeminent voice on power. Celebration is going to be one of those quintessential New York nights. We are looking forward to seeing you. Now, was this an accident? Of course not. You don't just accidentally invite people to such a high-profile party, right? The guest list is carefully considered. There's someone usually in charge of that. They're consulting with the people throwing the party. These are not accidents. The invitation also included a guest list which included Donald Trump and Ivanka, Harvey Weinstein, who's of course now in jail, Weinstein's wife, his then wife, Georgina Chapman, Matt Lauer, who got fired, and Cory Booker. According to the email, other guests were set to include cable news host Katie Couric, actress Katie Holmes, Blake Lively, Woody Johnson, Raymond Kelly, Ken Curson. I don't know who those people are. Several names on the list have been either associated with Epstein or appeared in photos of Epstein's alleged contact with. So the plot thickens, doesn't it? I'm not going to read the rest of this, but, this is a sinking ship. And there are some people that want to die on the hill of this and will continue to support these people till the bitter end. And at some point, there will be spiritual ramifications for doing so. Now, let's check in with you guys and get into the Oz Matrix. Good morning. What are your guys' thoughts on this? Is there a logical explanation for this? Are some people willing to die on the hill, as they say, of this? Now, let's talk about the Oz Matrix. Of course, the new Wicked movie is coming out. Wicked for Good. And I'll be honest, up until now, I have yet to see even the first Wicked movie. Fantasy just isn't my thing. And I'm not a big John Chu fan either. But apparently, this is something I probably need to force myself to watch, right? Look at this. They've even got the adrenochrome pink in the title. So I probably need to go back to the first movie from last year and decode this. I'll just have to force myself to do it, because I'm sure there is something in this, especially given all of the revelations about the land of Oz that we found in the last week. And if you're unsure about what I'm talking about, you should go back and watch all the decodes on The Wizard of Oz and what it actually really means. Now, something strange is happening. I want you to listen closely. Literally, the cast of The Wizard of Oz is being paraded out in front of us as we speak. And I started looking back through the Wizard of Oz universe, just in Wikipedia, and I found something strange. The floating head of Trump. Gump. Which reminded me of the floating head of Zardoz that we just decoded in the movie Zardoz from 1974. That was a movie based on The Wizard of Oz, right? Now, who is Gump in the universe of The Wizard of Oz? Well, we'll get into that. There's also a character named Tik-Tok. And we'll read about those characters on the show today to see if there are any parallels to Trump or Tik-Tok today. There's more. Remember Erica Kirk wore this green gown? Well, she's shaping up to play some kind of I hate to say it, but a hybrid witch of the Emerald City. Now today is her birthday, and the new Wicked movie releases tomorrow. Is there a connection? Well, I guess it remains to be seen. Now, the lion from the Wizard of Oz universe, I think it's got to be JFK Jr. or RFK Jr., sorry. Because of the way he speaks. He speaks like the lion, doesn't he? And then the Tin Man with no heart could be Elon Musk, the tech man with no heart, literally telling us in our face that humans will be obsolete. We don't need you anymore. We're going to make synthetic humans to do all the work. She'll just be sitting around doing nothing. Now, let's back up, okay? Because I want to take you down the rabbit hole with this in my investigation, why I'm able to say all these things with confidence. My investigation began with this Wizard of Oz remake called Return to Oz. Oh, here, I wanted to show you that it is, in fact, Erica Kirk's birthday today. Return to Oz, this 1985 dark fantasy. This is another one I probably need to completely screen. But essentially, this is a retelling of Dorothy's Return to Oz, as the name infers. But it's got a twist. There's a few different characters in this. And it was in this film's plot that the two characters emerged, Gump and Tik-Tok. Now, we're going to break these characters down. First, we're going to read about Gump. Now, Gump, let's see here, let's go up here, was voiced by this guy, Lyle Conway. Look at the hair. He's got Trump hair, doesn't he? Now, if it was just this, I wouldn't connect these two things, but this guy did the dark crystal. He's totally got the comb over Trump style hair. Gump is Trump. Now, what else is there? Because we can't just say this without more evidence, right? Well, according to the article, the TikTok character, who we're going to read about next, here it is right here, was assembled Gump in the fairy tale. So TikTok assembled Gump. Now, what was Gump? Well, he was a amalgamation of all these different pieces of furniture with the head of a moose. So there were pieces of couch. Here's the image of him here. This is literally Gump here. And these fronds as wings from like a palm tree or something. And the tail was a broom, suggesting that Gump was some kind of wizard, a MAGA wizard. And of course, these two pieces of couch with the moose head on the front. And it says that he was assembled by TikTok, according to the universe here. So I had to ask myself, was Trump assembled by TikTok? And yes, in real life, he was. In fact, Trump attributes TikTok to his election. Donald Trump and his supporters have claimed that TikTok played a role in his election victory, particularly by helping him win young voters. Now, if that was it, I probably wouldn't have reported on this. But guess what? TikTok actually launched in the year that Trump was elected. Just months before the election. September 2016, a new application that got Trump elected. Yes, TikTok literally built Gump, just like in the fairy tale. Wow. Now, let's read about TikTok, the robot, and what it actually is in this here, and then we'll get into the rest of the show today. This is insane. Here's the character TikTok. And as you can see, the immediate connection that most people would make is that he looks like Humpty Dumpty, doesn't he? Which we just covered, sat on a wall, had a great fall. We just covered that like last week. The spelling is literally the same as the TikTok app, except this robot came out in 1907. Now, TikTok was made of copper. TikTok assembled Gump. So now we have Humpty Dumpty, Trump, Gump. All of this has to be connected. Now, TikTok was a robot, of course, which infers that he was run by an algorithm, an artificial intelligence, just like the algorithm that TikTok became famous for. The reason why TikTok became famous, the application, was because it was so good. The algorithms was something they had never seen before because it reinforced your actions, behaviors, and viewing preferences. It used your private information to feed you addictive content. And once set in motion, you would become addicted to it and be on it all day long. TikTok, eating up all of your time. Now, according to this, TikTok performed flawlessly and automatically until it wound down. So it had like a clock in it. And as soon as the mechanism inside wound down, it would basically go back to sleep. The robot is running on borrowed time. Now, what else I found in here? It says in John Sladek's 1983 novel, Tik-Tok, a psychopathic robot named Tik-Tok, having overcome his Asimov circuits, commits a series of horrific crimes and spreads chaos and bloodshed, later becoming rich and elected vice president of the United States. So there's a presidential connection to TikTok. Now, this robot was the very first appearance in literature, the very first time a robot was ever mentioned. Now, here's some more proof that we are living in the land of Oz. Remember, TikTok was made of copper. Let's find that on the page here. TikTok is a round body mechanism made of copper who runs on clockwork springs, which periodically need to be wound. So, the copper penny has just ended in our reality. With the end of the penny is the clock ticking for the nickel. What? This is CNN. This just released yesterday. With the end of the penny is the clock ticking. Now, of course, pennies aren't solid copper anymore, but they are coated in copper. The nickel, on the other hand, has a solid copper core. They've set our economy in motion with an end date in sight to dismantle it. We're living in the green emerald city, which is cash, and the yellow brick road, which is gold. And we are running on borrowed time, just like the TikTok robot. Whoa. Let me check in with you guys, and then we'll get into this strange hybrid reality that we found ourselves in. Somewhere between the Land of Oz, the Wizard of Oz, and the Hunger Games, and the Twilight Zone. It's an amalgamation of all of that. What are you talking about, Casey? Well, we now have characters like this. This is straight out of the Hunger Games, straight out of the Wizard of Oz. Nicki Minaj intervening on behalf of Christians in Nigeria? Straight up gaslighting. Nicki Minaj addressed those gathered for a special event in New York on Tuesday, meant to draw attention to what some are saying is the plight of the Christians in Nigeria. Now, if you've ever seen a Nicki Minaj music video, you would understand that this is gaslighting. But if you hadn't seen a Nicki Minaj music video, then you would call me crazy and unthankful, and who else is going to stand up for the Christians in Nigeria? What this is really about is the one place on earth where the most Christians are being sacrificed, and these people are gaslighting us. That's what's really happening here. They're making a joke out of this. This has nothing to do with Christians being killed in Nigeria. But the Christians in America will believe that that's the case. That the president who doesn't give a crap about all the young girls in Epstein would actually care about Christians being killed in Africa. But yet, this is the reality we live in, where people actually believe this. Wow. Now, Casey, you're barking up the wrong tree. What are you talking about? Why do you care that Nicki Minaj is standing up for Christians? Well, Nicki Minaj has a special connection to Christianity on a spiritual level. You see, she was born on the day after Pearl Harbor Day, which is Mary Immaculate Conception Day, December 8th. This is the day that we found connected to Jesus Christ years and years ago. The pearl in the harbor. And if you take the pearl in the harbor, which would be, of course, the egg releasing from the ovary, and then you count 40 weeks, it lands on 9/11 the following year. This is all coded. She is now 42. Those are the total generations that Jesus counted from Abraham to his death. 14, 14, and 14 generations is 42 generations. This is also the angle at which you can view a rainbow. Rainbows are only visible at 42 degrees. This is all coded magic. Nicki Minaj is a known witch. Sorry, but she is. If we want to cut to the chase. So standing up for Christians has nothing to do with her love of Jesus Christ and everything to do with straight up gaslighting. Now, there's more Christian gaslighting going on as Trump has now crashed a wedding party at Mar-a-Lago, and he tells the guests, "You're going to get me to heaven." A conservative author and host of Socrates in the City shared a video of the exchange on social media. Wow. Well, let's read. Trump made a surprise appearance at the couple's wedding at Mar-a-Lago, where he singled out one of the guests as the guy who's going to get me into heaven. This was on Friday, November 14th. The president made an appearance at the private wedding celebration of an investment banker and Stormwall founder, Mike Wilkerson. A video posted on Instagram by conservative radio host and author Eric Metaxas shows Trump greeting and congratulating the newlyweds. Then Trump noticed Metaxas, 62, in the ballroom and reached out to shake his hand before telling the bride and groom, "He's going to get me into heaven." Which heaven are they talking about? You know, the Bible says that the evil one will try to elevate himself above the Most High. In other words, he will try to break into heaven. What could he be talking about? Well, let me check in with you guys. We're going to get into the rest of these stories today. Good morning. Yes, absolutely, it does not work that way, does it? And every, even basic Christian knows that. No man is going to get you into heaven. Your relationship with Jesus Christ gets you to heaven. Yes, I believe they're talking about a Tower of Babel, Boomer Bear. I believe you're absolutely correct. They're talking about something much different. What he's talking about is war on heaven. Not getting to heaven. He's talking about war on heaven. Armageddon. Now, let's do a little station break here. And before we get into some of these stories, thanks to the subscriber who sent this to me, like this morning or last night. Hey, the fastest way to become a Nephilim is you take the Nephi pen or the Nephi inhaler. Yes, there's an inhaler called a Nephi, as you can see here, and it's epinephrine. And what makes this bizarre, this nasal inhaler, let's count the dots. I like to play count the dots. Let's see it. I wonder if there's 33 here. Because before we count the dots, here it is right here. A Nephilim inhaler. Before we count the dots, you can only take the Nephilim inhaler if you weigh between 33 and 66 pounds. Now, I'll tell you the importance of the name of this inhaler in a minute here, because this is important. FF is 66. F is the sixth letter of the alphabet. Is it an accident that you have to be 33 to 66 pounds to take this? Is it an accident that they named it the Nephilim nasal spray? Let's count the dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46%. It's kind of hard to tell. There could be 66. That's probably my guess. Probably need to get a better image of this. There's between 60 and 66 dots on there. Probably 66 because that would be FF, right? Which is 66. In plain sight. Right into the pineal gland. The seat of the Holy Spirit. Or could be filled with darkness, as Jesus said. The eye is the lamp of the body. Either full of light or full of darkness. Wow. Now, good morning. Pam Bondi says there's new information which suggests that they may block the release of the Epstein files to pursue a new investigation which could take years. Years. This is the new tactic. Let's read. So Trump signed the Epstein bill. They have 30 days to release this unless Pam Bondi's investigation prevents him from doing so. Wow. Earlier Wednesday, Attorney General Pam Bondi faced questions on how the administration will release the documents in the Epstein files. We've released 33,000 Epstein documents to the Hill. Oh, 33 again. We'll continue to follow the law and to have maximum transparency. Also, we will always encourage all victims to come forward. I can't imagine any victims want to come forward at this point. After they were silenced and gaslit for an entire year. After they probably voted for Trump because they were told that the files were going to be released, only to be silenced and gaslit. I don't think anyone's going to come forward at this point. That was a soft threat, in my opinion. Yeah, come forward so we can document you and technologically harass you. Unbelievable, this reality we live in. Now, we will see if they actually release the complete unredacted files. Now, of course, they're going to have to protect some people in there, but all officials, anyone in power, if any of that's redacted, then that means the files have not been completely released, and that's the stance we need to take, in my opinion. Now, there's been some fallout already from the emails, the Epstein emails, and it's already destroying careers and reputations. Larry Summers' teaching role has been in doubt after he was outed as Jeffrey Epstein's wingman. This is crazy.
I just want to say, before we start, that it's not easy for me to be here. Some of you will have seen my statement of regret, expressing my shame with respect to what I did in communication with Mr. Epstein, and that I've said that I'm going to step back from public activities. But for a time, but I think it's very important to fulfill my teaching obligations. And so, with your permission, we're going to go forward and.
Wow, just a word sandwich. Unbelievable. There's no accountability for any of this. Why would these students even show up to the class? Here's the big secret in America. The people at the top that hold the money in their hands are the ones in complete power, and they can do whatever they want. They've created a system that we have become dependent on to advance our lives. They've made it so you have to have a college degree to make any amount of money in life, or so they think. It's actually not true, but this is what they tell us. People are afraid to speak out because they could lose their jobs. They could lose their hard work and place in life. And so people just keep showing up to class. They keep going to work. They keep fulfilling their role as they cower in fear about how their life might have to take a negative impact for speaking out. Now, as always, I've tried to be the example of what it looks like when you give up your place in life to speak the truth. This is why I've always been honest with you guys about my background, because I was one of those people who gave up a lucrative pharmaceutical career so I could do the right thing, and literally operated on an average minimum wage for the last 13 years of my life. So don't let these people creep in and tell you all these little things, these little whispers in your ear, that truth YouTubers are on here making a bunch of money or making a bunch of things up. No, I'm one of those people who walked away from it all. A 6-figure income. So I can tell you the truth. I lost friends. I lost family. I've lost my place in life to do this. Now, I'm not complaining about that, but I'm telling you that very few people are willing to do that. They don't want to look weird to other people. They don't want to lose their friends. They don't want to lose their family. Now, when I say family, I'm talking about my first marriage. And my kids are adults now, so they understand now, and they're actually kind of waking up a little bit. But when they're kids, that's my weird dad who's online all day, right? Or the ex that says he went crazy. Do you see now the sacrifice, that the true courage that it takes to speak the truth, to step out of this world and this life into a different life of telling the truth? Very few people can do it. And you've got this massive amount of resistance on the other side, this machine of shame, a machine of all these things, telling you you're a conspiracy theorist, you're crazy, no one listens to you. And good luck making friends. It ain't gonna happen. So hats off to all of you here in the chat who at least have the bravery to show up and listen to the truth. Okay, that means something. And don't let anyone ever tell you anything different. Because when you try to step back into the matrix, you'll very quickly realize that you won't even recognize the other world anymore because it's full of lies. Now, let me get off the soapbox there. Now, we've been on and on and on about the Stargate universe, remember? The Trump Stargate address in that episode, remember? And the serpent in the chest, the Goa'uld. And of course, the vaccine in the series that caused infertility. We got a strike for that one. But it's in the series. I'm not saying anything else about this. But there's an episode. The Ashen Confederation. And they literally made a vaccine that caused infertility. Wow. I'll put a link to this as well. And we talked about Trump's new Stargate AI project. Well, guess what? For those of you sci-fi fans out there, there is a new Stargate TV series that's going to launch on Prime Video. Of course, we will be decoding this. There's a reason why they're doing this now. There will be all kinds of predictive programming clues in this. Let's read this. This just broke yesterday. Stargate is getting a new chapter on Amazon, which is greenlit for new TV adaptation on Prime. Latest installment is written and directed by Martin Guerrero. Also, executive producing are Safe House Pictures. Wow. 20 years ago, my first job in real time. Okay, so this is just telling about the guy who did it, who's making it. Wow. So this is going to be good. And we will decode that when it comes out. What else is going on? Well, remember we were telling you guys they need to go after the employers? And we're going to switch gears here a little bit. That until you actually make it a felony to knowingly hire an illegal, then people are going to keep hiring them because they can pay them less money. They can, the person's never going to complain, right? They're just going to do their work. So they're kind of, because they don't want to get deported. And until you put the responsibility on the employer, then people are going to continue to stay here. We don't need to go house to house, city to city with the National Guard and all this to root out illegals. We don't need to do that. It's a big waste of time. And actually, there is something else going on with that. There is an undercover operation happening in plain sight, but people are just happy something's being done. All you have to do is pass legislation. I'll say this again. Maybe Marjorie Taylor Greene can get on this one or something. I don't know. But pass legislation to make it a felony, and you could lose your business if you knowingly hire illegals, if you do not require proper work documentation, which would be a valid green card and 2 other forms of identification, Social Security card, whatever. Now, if you unknowingly hire them, let's say they have a fake document, that's different. You're not going to get in trouble, right? But there are plenty of employers that are hiring people who they know are illegals. Well, apparently they're starting to crack down on this now. They listen to us. November 19th. Let's read. Michigan couple made $74 million using undocumented immigrant workers, the feds say. Wealthy Plymouth, Michigan couple has landed in federal court accused of hiring 200 illegals to work at their national plumbing business over the years and housing many of them in rundown motels and houses, all while they raked in $74 million in revenue. Wow. So, money laundering, there was a 5-year investigation. Now, this is good to know that this is happening, but there needs to be more laws in place about employment hiring practices. Because this is national security, isn't it? Taking American jobs. Some people say, oh, well, there are certain jobs that Americans don't want to do. Well, I'd rather have Americans having American jobs and let the economy adjust naturally. And if some things have to go up in price because you are paying a fair wage to an American citizen, so be it. I'd rather have that situation than undocumented illegals running around the country and taking American jobs and all the other things that come along with that. So it's good to know that something's being done, but more needs to be done. So, if you hadn't heard by now, I've been keeping an eye on, let's say, Candace Owens just broke some news yesterday. I'm not saying I completely trust her, but she has now provided definitive evidence, if you haven't heard this by now, that there were government planes flying and flew to the Charlie Kirk event right around the time of the assassination. And more interestingly, and I'm sure she'll expand on this, these planes were following the movements of Erica Kirk for the last several years. They were always in a city where she was. So she seems to be getting down to the bottom of it. And I don't know if there's going to be some kind of psychological operation at the end of this, but it seems to suggest that there was something much deeper to that whole situation that connected to an Egyptian plane that was landing in our government secret locations. And she believes it was not an Egyptian plane at all, but from the country that shall not be named, and all kinds of other stuff. So that's the update on Charlie Kirk. As Candace Owens has now emerged as the #1 podcaster in the world now through her coverage of the Charlie Kirk stuff. And she's being attacked heavily. She is going after the club that shall not be named. We call them the Juice Club. So we will see how all that plays out. Again, I'm not saying I trust her completely, but I am keeping an eye on the situation, and we'll see what's going on with that. All right, what else is going on, you guys? Yeah, she seems to be winning. I'll say that. So, some of you don't believe she's dead. And of course, there's a lot of mistrust. And yeah, she didn't come onto my radar until this Charlie Kirk thing. It was just given because remember, she was part of that whole MAGA crowd that got Trump elected. And my first feeling about her when she started looking into Charlie Kirk and named the Juice Club, my first feeling about her was it's too little too late. You basically got the people elected who you allege killed your friend. So what is that? Until you fully repent of that and say, you know what, I made a mistake. And of course, all the hand signs and all that stuff that we've seen and the MAGA hats. So take that for what you will. Now, there is such a thing as repentance, but she's, of course, there's other red flags. The whole Catholicism push on her channel. I mean, anyone who's awake should know what that's about, right? But there is such a thing as levels of waking up. There are certain things that I didn't feel so strongly about early on in the channel and that I learned about, and it's shaped who I am today. And some might even say, wow, he's not even, fully awake, because some people are ultra awake, I can imagine. And maybe they look at this channel and go, wow, you still do that or you don't do this. And so there are levels of awakening where people wake up more and more. So I don't want to write her off completely. So we'll see how, I'm just watching. We're going to see how it all plays out. Okay. So, all right, I'm back in the chat, you guys. Notice how the mainstream media is not covering Candace Owens at all. Yet she's the #1 podcaster in the world. She has surpassed Joe Rogan. But nobody, it's what do they call it? Media silence. So there's a little bit of a clue, isn't it? Thanks, Rich. Okay, good. The audio's better today. That's awesome. All right. What else? Okay. Candace Owens worships her husband over worshiping Jesus. I've heard her make statements. Oh, wow, Maylin. I can't confirm that. I don't know that, but, there is a hierarchy. Wife, well, it goes children, wife, Jesus. Wait, children, wife, husband, Jesus, God. So, but we're only supposed to worship the Most High. and Jesus is our intermediary. So you shouldn't be worshiping a husband. Well, that could have just been, I don't want to take that out of context if it's not true, but if it's true, then that's my comment on it. I don't think she's a Jesuit pawn because she's actually going after them right now. I mean, unless it's some reverse psyop. So she's going after them heavily. She's provided evidence. She's exposing that club. So I don't know if that's... She might have used to have been because she was running cover for Trump. So that's the, it's weird. Like these people are changing and morphing. So it's hard to trust them when just, 3 years ago, they were getting Trump elected, right? Who, of course, backs the club that shall not be named and has the whole time. So we will see. Rebecca believes she's controlled opposition. All right. All right, you guys. I love each and every one of you. Thank you for showing up. And I'll put links to all this in the pinned comment, as I always do. Not sure what we're going to do tomorrow. Probably be more headlines or a decode or re-upload. I do have some re-uploads that we're not seeing very much on this channel that will be going up on the backup channel over the weekend. So if you see some evening shows, Saturday and Sunday night, that's what that is. They already aired and were published on this channel, but I'm putting them on the backup channel. And so if you want to show up for that, that's cool. I'm going to have the chat open. It'll be like a premiere. I love each and every one of you guys. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.